My guest for today is Dr. Barry Krakow, MD. He is a renowned internist and sleep medicine specialist, unveils groundbreaking insights in his latest book, Life Saving Sleep New Horizons in Mental Health Treatment, with extensive contributions to leading scientific journals like The Lancet and JAMA, and a popular TEDx talk on insomnia. Dr. Krakow is a leading authority in addressing sleep dysfunction underlying mental health disorders. His innovative non-drug treatments offer hope for those with nightmares, insomnia, and sleep apnea, often overlooked by traditional mental health practices. So, despite being under-recognized, Dr. Krakow's transformative work emphasizes the crucial role of sleep quality over quantity, empowering individuals to address their sleep issues confidently. So, as we prepare to delve into our conversation on the topic at hand, life saving sleep, here's an exciting twist. Let us tickle the brain of Dr. Krakow. So, Krakow, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few, and I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. Are you ready for it?
Absolutely. Good to be here. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get the ball rolling, Krakow. Curiosity.
Curiosity is what drives researchers, and that is exactly what has driven me for decades.
Invention.
Well, I'd love to invent something that would treat sleep apnea a lot easier, because then more people would get their treatment than what we use now, CPAP.
Yeah, good one. And I wish you good luck on that. Third one is future.
The future is very big for sleep, and particularly sleep and mental health. There's going to be a radical paradigm shift in the field of mental health, psychiatry, and psychology, where they're going to have to embrace many of the things I've written about in my new book, Life Saving Sleep.
Okay, book.
That's an easy one. This is my fifth or sixth book. I've written 4 or 5 books on sleep. And this is the most important one because it really does bring the connections between sleep and mental health into very, very clear, illuminating ways for people to realize they can help themselves by sleeping better.
Good one. And the next one is movie.
Movie?
Yeah.
I'll pass on that one.
Okay, fair enough. Next is sleep.
I love it. I love sleep.
Universe.
Well, the only thing that brings to mind is our creator, Hashem. In Judaism, we say Hashem, the name. So when you say universe, that's what I think of.
Oh, got it. And next is leadership.
Leadership, that's a very interesting one because that's something that's incredibly lacking in the world today. We have very few leaders. We have very few statesmen or stateswomen. We have people that are just not leading us in very healthy and sensible and logical ways, in my humble opinion.
Next is aliens. Do you believe in them or did you find one?
I can tell you that we used to live in New Mexico. I don't know if you've ever heard of Roswell.
No.
Roswell is a very famous place in the United States where they actually have an alien museum.
Oh.
Because in the 1950s, they believe many people there believe there's evidence of the landing of a spacecraft. And so there's this, even TV shows in the United States will talk about the city, Roswell, New Mexico. That's all I know about aliens.
Wow, that's a great learning to me. Thank you, Dr. Krakow, for sharing that. And the last word is success.
Success is a very important word because it's so important to be successful in so many different ways in your life.
Yeah.
Success is not measured really by money. Unfortunately, many people think that it is.
Yeah.
Success is really measured by your growth as an individual, your capacity to continue growing, to continue learning, to be healthy, and being wealthy and prosperous means in our religion, we often say that a person who is happy with himself is a very wealthy man.
That's so profound. And thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round. So sportively, there is one more rapid fire towards the end of the episode. And before I welcome Dr. Krakow to the show, folks, welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series where we drive transformative conversations for a better future. I'm your host Naveen Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place through world-level discussions that add value not only to your life but also to your career. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Dr. Krakow, hearty welcome to TGV, the Guiding Voice, and I'm super happy and thrilled to host you today. How are you doing, Dr. Krakow?
I slept very well last night. Thank you.
I love it, and I know the importance of sleep. And the moment I came across your profile, yes, Dr. Krakow has to be on TGV, and that's why we are having this conversation. So let's dive in.
Thank you.
Let's begin with your success mantra. So please talk to us about top 3 things that have attributed to your success so far.
So actually, you spoke a little too fast in the beginning. So ask the question just a little bit slower so I can hear it. I heard what contributes to my success?
Yes. What are the three contributing factors to your success so far? 3 success mantra.
Well, there's really only one thing I attribute to my success, which is divine providence. Wow. I was literally placed into a situation 3.5 decades ago where I needed to help a family member who is having a problem with chronic nightmares, disturbing dreams. And because I was placed in that situation, my training is I'm an internal medicine doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but by working with this patient who had nightmares, that is what led me to get into the field of sleep medicine. So that was number one. The second thing that happened was, as I was treating these individuals with nightmares, I thought that was a psychological problem. But over the years, I began to realize there's physical relationships to these psychological problems. And that was very surprising to me because we were seeing people with insomnia, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And the third thing was, and this was really quite the turnaround, I learned that I had some of these same physical sleep disorders. And one time I actually did a TEDx talk that you can see online, YouTube, that describes this whole experience I went through. I realized that I had a little bit of insomnia and I thought it was psychological, but then I treated it with a breathing treatment, and the next thing I knew, my insomnia was gone. So those things have led to how I got to the place where I realized that sleep problems were so much more complex that when I was treating my patients, we had so much more success in helping them to get better. And just to be clear, let me put an exclamation point on this. We saw thousands of mental health patients who would come to our center, and all of them would be complaining about how they weren't sleeping better and that their treatments in psychology and psychiatry were not working. And so now we said, all right, well, we're going to treat your sleep problems. And many of them reported how this improved their mental health.
Yeah, got it. So, Dr. Krakow, let's dig a bit about your own sleeping problems. You said you had that and you overcame because of breathing related treatment, or if I may call it, some sort of exercises, right? So likewise, can you share a pivotal moment in your career journey that led you to focus on addressing this sleep dysfunction and underlying mental health disorders?
Right. So the story, again, it's on TEDx if anybody wants to watch it. It's a story where I was talking to a dentist friend of mine, and I was telling him I was complaining about my sleep problem, that I was having insomnia. And he whipped out a little dental device. I don't know if people know what that is, but it's called a mandibular advancement device, or it's not a dental guard for grinding your teeth. It's a dental device that moves your jaw into a thrusted forward position And so your airway is larger in the back when you put this little device in.
Oh.
This is described in my book, Life-Saving Sleep, because it's sometimes a very good early treatment. Anyway, he gave me the device. I went home that night and I slept all through the night. Not once did I wake up. So that was the first time in 2 years. In 2 years, I've been waking up every night, often to go to the bathroom. I put this dental device in. I slept all through the night. When that happened, I realized I was missing something in my own care, in my own treatment. And this led me absolutely to a very interesting discovery that most people would be shocked to hear. So I'll tell you right now. Most people think that it's normal to get up at night to pee. Most people think that you go to the bathroom once or twice per night and that's okay. That's fine. They think, well, I'm just getting older, or it's my prostate, or it's my bladder, or I drink too much water. In fact, we now know that if you have a sleep breathing disorder, that actually causes your kidneys to make more water during. And so if you treat the sleep breathing disorder, you stop going to the bathroom at night. So this is an amazing discovery that's been around since the 1990s. And most doctors don't even know this. They think, oh, no, it's just normal. But really, going to the bathroom at night is a very useful indicator. Now, this is very important because when you're dealing with a mental health patient who has anxiety, depression, PTSD, they think all their problems are psychological. And what have they heard from all the people talking to them? They're psychologists, they're therapists, they're psychiatrists. They think it's all mental. But then you discover they wake up at night to use the bathroom. And you say, listen, your problems may not be strictly psychological. They also may be physical. Let's check into this. And this is how we got started in certain ways in convincing people that you need to go into a sleep laboratory and get a sleep study. And then you'll see what we're talking about. Am I making sense?
Yes, you are making sense. And Dr. Krakow, first of all, let us talk some basics. Why do we wake up at night? I'll tell you my reason. Like, I wake up again just to urinate. And it happens. Like, I'll have sound sleep till 4 a.m. and suddenly my bladder will be full and I want to go to bathroom.
Right. So exactly what I just described, and I'll give you the details.
Yeah.
When a person, so you're describing the possibility that you might have a sleep breathing condition, because a sleep breathing condition puts all of this struggle, pressure, intensity in your chest. You're trying to breathe while you're sleeping, but your airway is collapsing. It may collapse a lot. They call that sleep apnea, or it may collapse just a little bit, and they call that other names. The point is, if your airway is collapsing, then your chest is struggling and producing all this pressure inside, which forces too much blood to flow back into the heart. It's that simple. When the chest cavity has the pressure, it pushes blood back into the heart faster than it should be. The heart detects this, and then the heart releases its own diuretic. So inside your own heart, there is like a water pill, a diuretic. And the body releases it. It tells the kidneys, make more water, pass more water. And that's the real reason sleep disordered breathing is related to people waking up at night and going to the bathroom. Now, people also wake up at night, whether they go to the bathroom or not, and they say they're wide awake. Many people have the experience. Some people, they're lucky, they wake up, they roll over, and they go back to sleep. But let me ask you, why do you think people would wake up and be wide awake? Because that's a very big problem that people complain about. Why do you think that happens? Have any guesses?
No.
No guesses? Okay. So the same thing. If you're struggling with your breathing, then it's like you're getting a mini suffocation. So if you are suffering a mini suffocation because your airway is collapsing, that's going to get your heart racing. That's going to get your blood pressure elevated. And that's going to make you wake up and be wide awake. But you never knew this because what were you doing before? You were sleeping. So how would you know that you had this problem?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why people are confused about this and don't think it could be affecting them. And so many mental health patients have sleep breathing problems. People with anxiety, depression, PTSD suffer from these sleep breathing problems.
Also, Dr. Krakow, so there is always people think, even I must admit, right? I always think, how do I get more sleep? But not how do I get better sleep. So what is the difference between both? More sleep versus better sleep?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. In fact, my book, Life Saving Sleep, is all about that technology. People think it's all the numbers of sleep you get, which has some relevance, but it's a very incomplete approach. The real goal is to get deeper sleep. The deeper the sleep you get, the more rested you are, the clearer your mind is the next day, the less need you have for caffeine during the day. So let me draw a picture with my finger. If we talked about deep sleep, we'd imagine the brain waves going up and down like this, and they'd be very deep and long and wide. So what's really happening to people that are not getting good sleep is that their brain is doing this all night. Sometimes it gets good sleep, and then all of a sudden it goes like this. The question is, that's sleep fragmentation, that's broken sleep. Why is that happening? And again, the answer is people think, well, isn't that just something psychological? Couldn't that be my nightmares or my anxiety? Well, yes, it can be. But for it to be doing this all night long, once again, it comes back to breathing. Now, there's a simple experiment, by the way, that people can do for themselves that really gives them confidence in realizing that what I'm talking about could apply to them. Because, many people might say, well, I don't want to get a sleep study, or I don't know how to get a sleep study. I don't want to go through all that stuff right now. So here's something easier. When a person has any difficulty at all breathing through their nose because they have allergies, they have congestion, they have stuffiness, that single problem actually causes part of your airway collapsing. So in my book, I describe these very early interventions. For example, literally cleaning out your nose with nasal saline, or using nasal sprays for treatments, or using a nasal strip over the nose, or a nasal dilator in the nose. Any of these steps, any of them, many people will use them for just a couple of weeks, and they'll immediately notice they're already sleeping better. So that's a really big deal. Instead of saying, oh, rush off to the sleep lab, oh, get a CPAP machine. I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm saying those can be very valuable. But if you would like to know now, tonight, this next week, what is going on with your sleep, do the steps. And again, these are all in my book, Life Saving Sleep. And by the way, on my website, there's a free video that explains what I'm talking about right now about working on the nose. And my website is barrykrakowmd.com. And what it talks about is if you take something as simple as nasal saline and you clean out your nose with sprays 3 or 4 or 5 times a day and get your nose really cleared out before you get into bed to go to sleep, that single step, you can start feeling better in a couple of weeks because your sleep will get better if your nose is better. Nasal breathing is a very big deal.
Got it. So, having been into this practice for several decades, right? Like over 3 decades. So what are some misconceptions about sleep quality and its impact on mental health that you have encountered in your practice, and how to address them?
So what we know about sleep is that if you're getting that fragmented sleep that I described, that means the brain is not going to work as well as it should be. So for example, if you don't have good memory, if you can't concentrate, if you can't pay attention, that's clearly going to make anything worse that you have with your mental health. I mean, if you have depression and anxiety and you can't think clearly and you can't focus. However, there's an even bigger problem. It turns out the brain, our brains, have this special cleaning mechanism inside called the glymphatic system. It's spelled Glymphatic. So everybody knows about their lymphatic system, where you have lymph nodes and it drains fluids and infections out of the body. The brain has its own special cleaning mechanism called lymphatic. This system is so important because by it cleaning, it is part of the process that's making you feel better the next day. It's making you actually have a better memory, and it's making it so that you have less risk for certain diseases like dementia. So the big question would be, what makes this brain cleaning mechanism work? And you're not going to be surprised when I tell you it's deep sleep. So the deeper your sleep, the more this brain cleaning mechanism is going to work. So that means, this is a very key point, if you're a mental health patient and you're taking too much medication,
okay,
and it's preventing you from going to deep sleep, which some of these medications do. Not anti-drug. I mean, some of these medications are helping people. But if there's too much medication and the person doesn't get into deep sleep, this brain cleaning mechanism is not working. Now, this brain cleaning mechanism was only discovered in the last decade or so by researchers in the Netherlands. Dr. Nedergaard, I believe, is the name of the woman who made the discoveries. And this is a very, very big deal because it's now showing just how important sleep is and sleep quality is. And what they're actually speculating on at this point is that they believe that if this brain mechanism is not cleaning properly, then that is going to eventually lead to these neurodegenerative diseases like dementia.
Okay.
And so obviously a big deal is if you get deeper sleep, you allow that brain cleaning mechanism to work at its 100% capacity.
Yeah.
And so that's why we think this is so important to the mental health community to hear.
Got it. And Dr. Krakow, what are the most effective non-drug treatments? You mentioned about breathing is one thing. And other than that, you also mentioned about the nasal strip, right? So is there anything else?
Right. So in the book, in the book, I divide the treatments into two categories. For life-saving sleep, we've got the category of all the sleep breathing problems. There's also sleep movement problems. People have conditions called restless legs and leg jerks. Many of those people do end up needing CPAP machines or dental devices, but all kinds of other treatments are coming out because inventors are looking at the marketplace and realize how many people have this problem. On the psychological side in life-saving sleep, I spend a lot of time talking about treating nightmares, treating insomnia. We use techniques that involve using the mind's eye imagery. We talk about what are called cognitive strategies for insomnia. And a big one that I go into is called emotional processing. Many people with sleep problems basically have a problem at bedtime because they have unfinished business. They bring their work or their troubles or their worries with them to bed. And that is absolutely going to interfere with sleep. So much of the life-saving sleep book describes how a person can learn to cope better with that stuff during the daytime. So there is no unfinished business because sleep really should be sacred. Your sleep should be your bedroom should be a sanctuary to engage in the sacred practice of sleeping. That's how big a deal this is. And so we go into a lot of those psychological treatments as well.
So let us dig further on the discovery or the breakthrough nightmare treatment that you have done, right?
That's where it all started. It's called imagery rehearsal therapy. And it speaks to the idea that the nightmares are actually operating like an independent disorder. Most people think of nightmares as something that is because of the depression. It's because of the PTSD. And I'm not saying that's not true. Obviously, if you have trauma, then you could have disturbing dreams and nightmares. My point is the nightmares take on a life of their own. And so you can separate them from the trauma and you can treat them separately. And you do that by working on the mind's eye, because where do you dream? You dream in your mind's eye. So it turns out if you work on mental imagery during the daytime, and this is all explained in great detail in the Life-Saving Sleep book, if you work on this in great detail during the daytime with imagery, you can actually influence the dreams you have at night. And so it's a spectacular treatment. It's very successful. Many mental health professionals are now using it around the world to treat chronic nightmares.
Got it. Also, let us dig further into the breakthrough sleep apnea treatment that you have pioneered.
What we learned was that the CPAP machines really are not particularly effective in people with anxiety. It's that simple. If you have anxiety, these CPAP machines cause claustrophobia, they cause panic attacks, but even more subtly, they're just uncomfortable. So many people quit CPAP. You probably know somebody who's tried CPAP and said they couldn't use it, or they hated it, or they didn't like it. So we discovered about 20 years ago that if people are switched to a machine that's called bilevel, that's the breakthrough we're talking about. Bilevel means you get a higher pressure to breathe in, which is very comfortable, but then a lower pressure when you're breathing out. CPAP is just one pressure. It's one high pressure, and you're breathing the same pressure all night long. It's just too uncomfortable, and it produces anxiety. I tried using CPAP, and I used it for a few years, but it really never gave me the response I got once I switched to one of these bilevel devices. And we started using bilevel devices in our patients almost 20 years ago. And I've been on a bilevel device myself for more than 15 years.
Yeah, got it. So, Dr. Barry, this has been insightful conversation. Personally, I learned a lot, and I'm sure it is going to help our audience immensely. So for those of you who are watching or listening to this episode, you'll find the link to Dr. Barry's books as well as his website. Please take a look at it and change your life, because sleep is something very, very important. And many of us are sleep deprived because of social media, because of a lot of OTT content that is prevalent across the world, and many other factors. So I think we need to appreciate Dr. Barry Krakow's work, because he's doing some invaluable contributions to us in terms of striving towards us getting a better night's sleep. That's amazing. And Dr. Barry, it is time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement to the episode. I'm going to kick off the second rapid fire round. Are you ready for it?
Very good.
Okay. Here comes my first bullet. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
It would say, sleep better.
I love
or
it.
Another one would say, count. I'll have to think about it. Go ahead.
Very nice. Now comes my next one. So complete this sentence 3 times. Never have I ever.
Oh, you mean give 3 different examples?
Yeah. You need to give 3 different examples.
Wow. So never have I had a bad day in my life. Never have I given up my belief in our Creator. Never have I had a day that I've not been thankful for being alive.
So powerful. And let's move to the next one. So can you describe yourself in just one word?
Curious.
Curious. Awesome. And what is one sleep myth you wish you could debunk with the wave of a wand?
That quality is so much more important than quantity.
And can you share a surprising fact about dreams that most people don't know?
Dreams come from rapid eye movement sleep, but rapid eye movement sleep actually is a very powerful psychotherapist working in your brain while you're sleeping.
Oh, wow. It's a learning. And here comes the last bullet out of the second rapid fire round. So, Dr. Barry, in case if you want to invent a fantasy gadget or if you'd like to see one, so what would it be?
I'm sorry, a fantasy what?
Fantasy gadget that you like to
gadget.
Yeah, gadget.
Oh yeah, that's a super easy one. Like something very simple, very simple that treats sleep apnea, because so many people want the treatment, but they can't use the PAP machine. That would be an awesome gadget. Except the only problem with that is then I would make far too much money, and I would know what to do with all that money.
Loved it. And give some money to me. Send it to India. I loved every bit of this rapid fire. And let's flip back to the mainstream, Dr. Barry. And
Sure.
What is the impact of sleep on suicide? How will life-saving sleep save your life?
So sleep turns out to be a much bigger deal than most people understand. And a simple way to say it is most people do not learn to respect their sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a bunch of people, who are really good sleepers. So a lot of this doesn't make any sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
But they have no respect for the other people who don't get good sleep. In fact, people are embarrassed about this because they know that they can appear to be lazy or inattentive or just not getting the job done. And what people need to hear is that sleep is a very big deal and it can change your life if you learn what is wrong with your sleep. And most people, I'm what's called a mind-body medicine doctor. Most people do have both psychological and physical things going on with their sleep. And to work on both of them, a person can change their life. And in many cases, it will save your life. And some of the most obvious examples are if you learn to be a better sleeper, you're going to be a safer driver of a car.
Indeed.
And another example is if you're going to be a better sleeper, you actually have the chance to live longer because better sleep actually protects your heart from getting a lot of diseases. So sleep is a very big deal, and that's just the beginning. We've only had a taste of it in this discussion, but I talk about it more obviously in the Life-Saving Sleep book. But people really do need to learn to have respect for sleep. Once they have that respect, then they're going to want to do something to make it better.
Amazing, Dr. Barry. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And as you said, we have just scratched the surface of this sleep and insomnia, right? So definitely we would like to have many more conversations in future. And before I let you go, please share with me, how is your experience being hosted on my show, The Guiding Voice?
Excellent. We've had a great conversation. I wanted to mention one other free thing that individuals can take advantage of. I have a free Substack newsletter. You know what Substack is?
Yeah.
It's called fastasleep.substack.com. As I said before, I have a website where I do sleep coaching. Yeah. And I also have videos and other books on that called barrykrakowmd.com. Yeah. And then, of course, the main website for Life-Saving Sleep is lifesavingsleep.com. Yep. Do you have Amazon in India?
Yes, we do have Amazon.
I'm pretty sure that the book is available on Amazon in India.
Great. I will publish the link, to both Amazon.com and Amazon.in links as well. And also all the websites that you have shared with Dr. Barry. So for those of you who are listening or watching this episode, please refer to show notes and feel free to leverage whatever Dr. Barry has created, and I'm sure it is going to help you guys immensely. And Dr. Barry, thank you once again for being part of our show, and really appreciate you taking time for having this amazing conversation, and I'm sure it is going to change our lives forever.
Well, thank you for giving your generous time to be able to have this discussion and have such a great conversation. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, and pleasure to host you. So friends, that was our episode with Dr. Barry Krakow. And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request. In case if you haven't already subscribed to the Guiding Voice podcast, please subscribe, because subscribing keeps you updated on new episodes. And also, if you have enjoyed this conversation, please share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like the Guiding Voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. Alright, now let's hop into the trivia segment. Having had amazing conversation about sleep apnea, insomnia, as well as sleep disorders, I thought I would give you a few facts related to origins and historical perspectives of insomnia. Insomnia has been recognized since antiquity. Ancient Greek physician Hippocrates wrote about sleeplessness and its implications for health, and even the Romans too were aware of insomnia, with famous medical scholar Galen discussing sleep disorders in his texts. And when we talk about Middle Ages, during this period, insomnia was often attributed to demonic possession or supernatural influences, and treatments were largely based on herbal remedies and spiritual rituals. Whereas, if we consider the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution and the advent of electric lighting changed human sleep patterns dramatically, and this period marked a significant increase in reported cases of insomnia attributed to the disruption of natural sleep cycles and increased stress levels due to a rapidly changing world. So that's it for today about insomnia. Likewise, if you are aware of any interesting or historical facts related to insomnia, feel free to drop your comments. If you're watching this episode on YouTube or if you have found this episode on some social media platform, leave a comment there. I would be happy to review. And that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV community. We would love to hear from you, so do not hesitate to share your ideas, feedback, topic recommendations, and or even guest speaker suggestions either through social media, or you can also email us at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. Let's create content that resonates with. I'm your host Naveen Samala, a lifelong learner, and my goal is to have impactful conversations that improve not only your life but also your career. So until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember the future holds great things because the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest.